To the program on this Friday evening, December 20th. Those watching on Facebook Live, thank you very much. What a time of the year, December to remember. Football, sports fans. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight, Indiana, Notre Dame. Tomorrow, you have Penn State, SMU at 12 o'clock. Then you have Texas versus Clemson at 4 p.m. Then you have Texas and versus Ohio State, 8 o'clock. Rangers versus the Stars tonight. Hornets, Sixers, Bucks versus Cavs, Thunder versus Heat, and Christian Walker to the Astros, 3 years worth $60 million. Galen, welcome back to the program. How are you? LT Jersey and all, Arizona. I'm stuck here in the snow.
I wish I could feel bad. Certainly not missing that whole thing this time of year. Cold, snow. Even though like I'm a fan of the snow, but I don't know. All these years of recent memory, at least down in my parts in Massachusetts, it was more like brutally cold and like frozen tundra, like
Right.
extreme low temperatures and just virtually little to no snow. So if it's just going to be extremely cold, no snow, then what's the point? Just let's fast forward right through things. Let's get to spring and soon to be summer, right? So now I don't have to worry about those frustration because I'm here very consistently. You don't even have to ask the temperature. I'm sure you can guess it. It's a nice little change of pace.
And on the rundown, there was also the Texans versus the Chiefs, 1 o'clock Christmas Day. And you had the Steelers versus the Ravens at 4:30 Christmas Day. Both of those games on Netflix. Are you looking forward to watching either one of those games on Christmas Day?
I mean, I'm a football fan, just like you. I mean, absolutely. Anytime I can get a little football, whether it's on one of the biggest days of the year, arguably in Christmas, and doing the whole family thing, or at least most people do, and I will be on Christmas. I mean, sure, family, great spread of food. There would have certainly been something on to watch, whether it's Christmas movie, just marathons, all that stuff. But sprinkle in a little bit of football, like it's Thanksgiving 2.0, but just no Thanksgiving, and that's inserted and replaced with Christmas. I mean, I don't know. It's something, you know what I mean? We don't normally have the NFL usually on Christmas. Normally that's mainly like an NBA featured sort of day, and will be again. But have a little NBA, throw in some football, just a little change of pace. I mean, the only thing I would have to say that's certainly different and gonna be a little strange is that like Christmas falls on Wednesday, and usually it's very steadily Sunday, Monday, obviously your Thursday matchups, and then this time of the year, usually they have like a game or two on Saturday. So NFL on a Wednesday, quick turnaround for those teams that are playing and stuff like that, like, just a few days prior. That might be a bit early, but hey, you know what? I'm a football enthusiast. I'll take it.
Well, the way how the things are going in the NBA, right? I mean, it's not a bad thing because the NBA's ratings are down, right? I mean, NBA ratings are down 48% over the last 12 years, down 28% alone this year from ESPN. Telltale signs. Are the NBA in a lot of trouble here, Galen? I think they are.
I mean, it would certainly seem like it, just for the simple fact that, I mean, those are some pretty eye popping percentages, that, obviously have this sport, this particular brand product, noticeably down. I feel like the bigger question should be, why is that? And I feel like, I don't know if you might have some different observations on on the reason why, but I feel like maybe not. I think I might have an idea, and if I am at all right, it could be something, that's the new, modern sort of approach. Once again, like we've been seeing now for a couple years now, if not long, the last few years in football. But it could have everything to do with the whole run and gun, lack of defense, guys like just opt in, because they can,
Too many
not
threes.
to, yeah, not to play on back to backs. Certainly, you got the whole, very stagnant and approach on offense. Not enough moving the ball around because guys are just chucking up and settling for threes. And I think there's a few different factors, but if I were to be a betting man and I would just guess my way to doing so, I think it has a lot to do with, and probably a good majority of it with the whole, chuck and duck. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's not the same sport. It's not the same offense and philosophy approach on that end of the court that we grew up watching. I feel like, they don't really include the big men nearly enough. They're not creative. They're not crashing the boards, stuff like that. If anything, they're just throwing it up and they're already like just kind of sneak in on back, and just assuming that like they just got to get back, and instead of like fighting for it and just keeping the ball on the offensive end. It's just, I mean, I hate to say it, but like you can get like an elementary, like a legit kid to play the same style. Like there's no sort of creativity, there's no mastermind approach, nothing. And if that's the case, yeah, it's gonna lose people.
Yeah, for sure. It's like if you don't care, we don't care, right? Like we're not going to pay our hard-earned money to go see guys not being in the lineup. And load management, guys not hustling, like you said, plays aren't being ran, guys just coming up, shooting threes from beyond, way beyond the arc. Like, what's the point of that? I mean, something's got to be changed, right? Maybe create a 4-point, 3-point line, maybe get rid of the three on the side of the court. Something's got to be changed, right? Like the old way of basketball, because what's happening right now is just not working at all. And like, we don't care. And I love the NBA, but I don't see myself going to any games anytime soon and just not sitting down to watch an entire basketball game. And it's sad because I grew up watching the NBA, grew up loving the NBA. But what the game is now, it's just really, really, really awful. And I heard they're
Right.
changing the All-Star game too, right? That's atrocious also too. Terrible
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, it's just tough to watch. And like I said, we talked about this at nauseum, when it comes to just, the fellow sport, that is baseball,
Yeah.
um, the very historic sort of sport, and that it once was, still should be, but unfortunately it isn't. And obviously, same thing. It's not having the same sort of effect and catchy sort of interest that it did when we were their age. A good 20 plus years ago. So yeah, they're trying to win over the younger generation, and I feel like for it, they're getting a bit too gimmicky. They're changing too much. And like I said, the last time I was on, I don't know. I just view baseball, of all the sports, especially in the highest in of regards in terms of tradition and making very little to no changes. I'm not a fan. I mean, who is, of this golden bat rule? Don't get me started, I guess, but I can kind of see the whole um, you know, maybe growing support and necessity, for like, these robot umpires and stuff like that to make sure the strikes are indeed strikes, and the balls are being called like the way they should. And I feel like the only way to really fix that is to have like a near perfect sort of approach, as opposed to these umpires and stuff like that kind of like literally more and more starting to take the games into their own hands. But so that, I guess I'm a fan of. I'm certainly not a fan of, like, the home run derby. We talked about that, and a lot of the other proposals out there and changes. But same thing with basketball. I feel like, I heard the same things, alleviating maybe the side 3 point shot selection, coming up with a 4 point shot. I mean, I guess, and I could admire the creativity and trying different things to get the ratings at least somewhat close to what they usually have always been,
For us to care. Yeah.
and was just in the recent past. But I mean, again, just like baseball, I don't want to see a complete overhaul. It shouldn't be this hard. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be this
Figure this
much,
out. Yeah.
yeah, this much of a challenge and burden, basically. Let's face it, because the more and more you change and the more and more you get away from what we all grew up, loving and admiring, with just the talent and just the overall creative and the systematical approach and stuff like that, which is all but non-existent. I'd like to think that we should be able to turn it back and get back there without such drastic change. But I don't know. I just feel like, commissioner, fans, the guys, coaches, and stuff like that, whatever it is, I feel like it's they're just not interested. It's all about this run and gun and let's shoot from like oblivion, and it's just, I guess if they just refuse and then continue to buck the trend and just do things your way, I guess, yeah, you might have to just do what's best. But I mean, I am kind of intrigued by the whole 4 point possible 3 point shot. I think that would be pretty cool, and I think that would definitely help to kind of reel
Alleviate.
fans back into like, oh, okay, let's see how this gets implemented into the game. And especially when you got guys like what we have on the Celtics, Peyton Pritchard, making the 3 point line make it seem like it's just like a standard mid-range jumper.
You guys shoot like 51%, like 51 attempts. I heard in one game, I believe, a couple of days ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it all started with that Knick game too, that home opener. I was like, why are they shooting so many threes? And it just kept on going. Does Steph Curry ruin the whole 3 point thing? I mean, Steph is Steph, right? He's like a unicorn, right? But like, I mean, he's changed the game, but like now it's just like, maybe he's changed the game for the worse, because everybody seems to be shooting threes, the entire league. But it's the same thing every team, every game.
But I like to think, in all honesty, that the Steph, I feel like I want to give the whole genuine, and because like, hey, I'm Steph, like I'm shooting this because I can,
Right.
We're incorporating this sort of, dynamic into our offensive philosophy approach on this team, the Warriors, because, I am a once in a generation type talent from outside range. But you know what? There's, last time I checked, only one Steph Curry,
Correct.
What's literally everyone else's rhyme or reason around the league? There's just the one, maybe a couple of others if you want to make a case for it, but that's about it. But the problem is it's turned into the whole league, and we might not ever see another Steph Curry again. And if we do, it's going to be a very, very, very long time until that next worthy, basketball talent ends up, being a legit comp to Steph and being warranted for such, epic and prolific shooting. But again, I love you, Peyton Pritchard. I like to give pretty much everyone else the benefit of the doubt around the league, but I feel like they're all trying to be him, and they're just not. I don't care how good, how consistent these guys are being on a night-to-night basis, which they are, but it's just like it shouldn't be used and abused the way it is. It's almost like there's no such desire, want to even be creative. Like, let's
Run
let's
some
work from
plays, run
yeah,
some screens. Let
let's run it from the inside out. No, it's just like now let's run it from out and let's stay out. Like
Yeah, terrible,
I feel
terrible.
like big men, like they should have that kind of like 50-50 approach, like kind of go back and forth. And it's just like these guys are on the court, but they're not getting even remotely utilized to their skill set
Correct.
and to validate their minutes. So I mean, it's pretty much there. And if not, we're certainly getting there. What's the sense of even like throwing out a big lineup? Playing with centers and stuff like that.
There's no point to have a big
It's
guy
it's
anymore.
it's it's turned into all guards and wings, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to possibly Klay Thompson and Steph Curry versus Sabrina Ionescu and Caitlin Clark for the All-Star game
Yeah,
break next year, 2025, early 2025.
yeah, that does
Um,
sound
that
like
sounds
a pretty good
intriguing.
idea. Yeah.
Intriguing. But otherwise than
And
that,
who
I'm
knows? Maybe it's things. Oops, sorry. Maybe it's things like that we need to entertain and start to kind of feel out. To again start to bring back just the fans. That had been there in the recent past. Not so much now, but I feel like they got to switch it up, and they can't really afford to wait because those are just some alarming percentages, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, and that's I never saw the NBA dropping off to that extent, really, if at all, and now we're there.
so Adam Silver and the suits in the NBA do something ASAP. I know you're trying to change the All-Star game. The three-point land, maybe move that back a little bit, get rid of the corner three, maybe make a 4-point play, something, just something to get the interest back. And even the college guys in college, I don't even know, like these guys coming out of college, first year in college, like I have no idea, you know,
But
they're not even
I
staying 2, 3 years
I
versus the WNBA versus the college girls, right?
but
So there's no following.
how confident are you? Let's just say they actually give it a try and they entertain the 4-point play. I mean, don't you see them like just reeking with grief? Like, oh, now you're gonna turn a 3-point play into a 4-point play. I don't really feel like it's gonna change the mindset unless, and this would be like the only way to have it like clearly balance off to like an old past sort of like remembrance in terms of a little bit of both, inside outside of approach. I did hear something along the lines of if they do make a little bit of changes, maybe they ought to be restricted to like in the range of like, okay, you have to very really be strategic with your approach of if and when and just how much you end up shooting in a game, because now we're going to put a cap on it. Maybe there will be
How
that
about the
cap of
fourth?
like 15 to 20 shots and that's it.
How
Like
about the
pick.
fourth quarter? Only you can only shoot threes in the fourth quarter.
Oh, well, I didn't hear that one. I heard something about like a cap, like 15 to 20. These teams should be restricted to like a certain cap. And once you like reach that cap or whatever, I don't care how early or how late, then that's it. Like, then the shot just won't count. So I think that could potentially have
That'd be
legs, but
interesting. That'd be interesting.
but if I feel like if they don't cap it, then you're just basically condoning and allowing the same thing. These guys are abusing the 3 points. So don't you think it doesn't matter if you back it up or not that they're soon to abuse a 4-point play? Of course, a 4-point shot. Of course they will. It just
Possibility.
I don't know.
We're going to see some kind of change probably after the end of the season. It may be hard to change something right now, something drastic right now during the season, but I would think that tip off 2025 season, October of next year, we're definitely going to see some major changes. But you know what the NBA is going to tell you? Hey, their social media platform is up. TikTok's great, Instagram's great, everything else is great. But people aren't just going to games, man. Casual fans like me and you, we're just not going to games, and it's just no hype. There's nothing there for us to see or watch. Guys are hurt all the time. Guys aren't playing back to backs. Load management. So you can't want us to care if you guys don't care and try to fix the issue at hand. And it's a big issue. It's been talked about all week, right? I mean, not just this week, but it's been talked about for many weeks. So
Right.
hopefully we do see some change sooner rather than later. On the rundown, I think I said Texas versus Ohio State. It was Tennessee versus the Ohio State tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Um, by the way, these Christmas games, Galen, you think Netflix a little worried there about their streaming services because of the whole Tyson debacle?
Mhm.
A lot of people were, they were stuck on like 6% instead of 100%. Are they worried? You got Beyonce performing at a Texans game. How worried are the NFL suits?
I mean, the fact that there was such a streaming outage, I guess for so many people and fans alike, for like Tyson, Paul, then hey, NFL, I guess you can catch it too. You guys are up next. Um, and yeah, I mean, if you're the fans and going through that unfortunate experience with the boxing, um, Netflix feature there, you can't rule out certainly of just a quick turnaround and it happening again over an NFL game now on the same platform. All I gotta say, and like I told you, like right after when we ended up hitting on it back then, but some of us at least were fortunate. I don't know. I don't really remember exactly the experience that you had at the streaming. I don't think you really had any issues neither, but I found it to be flawless. Like I was able to watch the whole fight, prelims, start to finish, and everything, um, without a single hiccup. So at least knock on wood, yeah, and tune in, and I expect more of the same. But if I was in these people's shoes, I'd be like, oh, here we go again, rolling my eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
can I trust this? Especially if you're a fan of like, your team and you're trying to watch them. You might be better off just waiting for the game to play out and catch it on demand, I guess.
And Netflix isn't cheap, right? It's $24, $16. I believe it's $10 or $6. It's,
Yeah,
it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
plan dependent. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Moving right along here on this Friday evening, snowy Friday evening, December 20th, live in New York, Galen in Arizona.
Or
Mike,
a sunny, comfortable Friday evening.
must you rub it in?
Not sunny anymore, but you get what I mean. It was. But the beautiful, beautiful Friday evening, comfortable temperatures. I'm
Your
sorry.
boy, your
I'll behave
boy,
myself. I'll behave myself.
your boy, Mike McDaniel now has a 3-15 record against teams above 500, which is very inexcusable. Miami Dolphins. They just seem like they cannot win in cold weather. It seems like there's always an issue, big games, big moments, playoffs. They can never get it done. I mean, we saw some coach firings already, right? The Jets, the Saints, Chicago, already making moves. Who's next on the hot seat, Galen? Who's on your hot seat? I'm sure there's going to be more coaching changes. Black Friday coming up in a couple weeks here. Your thoughts on Mike McDaniels and who else on the hot seat, coaching hot seat? That is.
I mean, I think it's it's not good. If you're a fan of the Dolphins and obviously you've been basically following them all year, I mean, yeah, number one, this team's under 500, and even the wins that they have been able to collect along the way, they haven't been all that inspiring. That's for sure. Um, I mean, let's take a look at a few of these games. I mean, they barely beat a much less talented Jaguars team back in the opening week, 20-17. They won that game. I mean, yeah, they've had a couple of highlights, like on the year, but they got absolutely eviscerated by the Seahawks. I would have to say, certainly a quality opponent, 24-3. I mean, the list goes on. They lost some. I mean, they beat my Patriots in early October, but just by 5. And who's New England fooling? They're not fooling anyone this year. I mean, players, coaching staff, front office, right on down. I mean, it's the whole organization is just an absolute laughing stock. They're in absolute disarray. So I mean, you're gonna feel good about barely even beating the Patriots by a mere 5 points.
You
You know,
can't.
granted they were on the road. You know, I mean, Patriots played some pretty good D that afternoon, but I'm sorry, you gotta at least division opponent or not. I mean, these guys are talented enough, and Patriots are hurting that much and lacking that much in talent. You got to beat them by at least a touchdown. You know what I mean? Not 5 points. So it's not good. Mike McDaniel's. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's on the hot seat. I mean, I guess you can't rule anything out, especially with Black Monday quickly approaching. But I'd like to think that, you know, he could find a way, some way, somehow to just skirt on by and possibly survive this when the dust settles and when all said and done. But I will say, I mean, you got to expect that, you know, whether he survives this or not, he's certainly going to be put on notice. He's going to be on the radar for sure, you know, with ownership, because it's just inexcusable, you know. And granted, they lost Tua there for about a month and change, 4 or 5 weeks there, I think it was, halfway through the season. So in the middle portion of the season. So yeah, that's a big loss. And as we see, you know, when Tua is healthy and, you know, he's playing up to par and, you know, at a very, very high level, obviously he's the straw that, you know, stirs that offensive drink, you know. As he goes, they all go, you know. Passing game, running game, like, you know, that offense definitely goes to another level. However, since he's been back, I mean, he's had a couple of good games, but not nearly enough. He's been more down than he has been up, you know. And I feel like they just haven't really rallied around him like you would expect, you know, coming back from yet another concussion. So I don't really
Yeah.
know what's going on, you know, in the locker room and behind closed doors, but they certainly seem to be disengaged, lacking that sort of inspired sort of play and just rallying around each other. Certainly him, as you know, an unfortunate, like, you know, often concussion, uh, player, this year, and, pretty much almost from day one since he's been in the league. Every
Since
time we turn around,
his entire career,
yeah, yeah,
he's
it
always
seems
hurt.
like, he's always fallen suspect to a big hit, unfortunate hit, and Mike McDaniel's. I mean, he should be able to find a way to get through to these guys and start, like, playing up to their standards. I mean, we seen it just last year. It wasn't that long ago. They have a lot of the same guys that are back. I mean, much of the team is still intact. Tua's, healthy and has remained such since he's been back. So really, like, what's the issue? You would like to think that there should be no issue, but
Yeah.
some way, somehow, they've lost their way, and for it, it seems like clearly they're on the outside looking in, and they're going to end up going on vacation. Unfortunately, a lot earlier than I feel like what a lot of people felt about this same particular team going into the year.
Yeah, you always think that the Dolphins, yeah, they're good. They're not great, but they're good. But this year has been a total disaster and cold weather, right? They cannot win in cold weather also. You see them in playoff
Oh,
games. They just can't
it,
win
it gets them every time. Gets them every
every
time.
single time. Is that coaching? Is that a culture thing? What is that you make of that Dolphins? They just can't get over that hurdle, that hump in cold weather.
I mean, I will say this. Some things are a lot easier to mock, on, the upcoming game day. And when it comes to weather, unfortunately, where they call home and in our the majority of the time, um, yeah, that's unfortunately something you can't really get a good, accurate feel until you hit the field in said city, and it's upon us, Well, not me, but them. Um, but I mean, you can definitely do the whole mock thing, like, playing for loud noise and stuff like that, pump music into these like practice dome facilities and stuff like along that nature, you know.
Correct.
There are other things that you can pretty closely and accurately, plan for. But unfortunately, when it comes to Mother Nature and such extreme circumstances, I mean, whether it's cold or things like like snowstorms, like playing in a few inches to almost a foot of snow, that sort of accumulation. I mean, how do you mock that? Like, and a lot of times, like, it's not like you're gonna I'm gonna drive, like fly and go to like a Green Bay or a Buffalo a few days like earlier to like kind of like get acclimated. A lot of times, like that's just hours or maybe the night before a game, like no, you need to already be there. So like, how do you plan for such extreme weather inclement? Like you just can't. So I feel like with that being said, it just comes down to the individuals themselves, like, strapping up and putting on their helmets on game day. Like, there is a such thing called, like, some players, they just got that way about them. They're tough, they're mentally strong. And some others, they're just like, they can easily kind of, you know, wilter, to conditions, when again, it's right in front of them.
So the coaching hot seat, who do you believe is on there? Jacksonville, Dougie Pete. What about Dallas, Mike McCarthy? What about Raiders, Antonio Pierce? You have any other candidates could potentially be
I mean,
on the hot seat for Black Monday coming up?
I mean, unless you're like what a lot of people were led to believe. Again, with my home team, even though I'm in Arizona now, but the Patriots, I mean, I feel like because of the quote unquote promise, and that's exactly what it was, and the whole like basically gentleman handshake agreement, behind closed doors, even while Bill Belichick was still, coaching and leading this franchise. But people went into this year thinking that Gerard Mayo, current coach now, former player, had like an automatic pass in year one. And I guess by
You don't
and
believe he
large,
does?
because like, maybe they didn't want to buy him out, even though whether they really felt in their heart of hearts that he was ready or not. Clearly he wasn't. Um, Forget a year too soon. It seems like he's like 2 years too soon. I mean, he doesn't even seem remotely close, but they just thought for obvious reasons it doesn't matter how poor, how bad that they look. The roster sucked, right? Like there's virtually like very little to no talent on either side of the ball. Like, of course he's gonna get a pass, right? And plus, like, he's Kraft's guy. Kraft basically handpicked him as that next de facto leader for the Pats. Well, you fast forward, they're on pace to even do that much worse than what they did a year ago at this time. And if things kind of end up like slipping up in their favor and they continue to do what they've done best in a landslide all season long, and that's lose some more, and never really, almost never really like looking good or even like adequate and respectable in the process, then if it ends up being, which I fully expect in these last 4 weeks, for it to no doubt most likely end up playing out, or 3, 4 weeks, however it is we got left, and it's an absolute bleep show and an abomination.
Yeah.
I don't care about the contract and like, you guys not wanting to buy the man out, this and that. Well, you know what? You should have thought long and hard before you're like, oh, behind closed doors, you're our guy, and like, yeah, you're definitely the one that you're gonna be the guy to follow the guy, like, after he moves on. Like, how do you bring him back? And for that, yes, I fully, now I'm on board. I thought maybe like everyone else, he probably would get a de facto pass, but like they haven't looked good, Kemford. They've been far too many times a laughing stock and a clown show. I feel like despite only having 4 wins last year that they finished out with, they were a lot more competitive and just respectable and at least halfway decent and at least half to the majority of the games. They've barely even been that this year. And if that's the case, he every bit deserves to be on the hot seat. I think he will be and should be. And I think everything is on the table. Fair game, him, the front office. Um, a lot of us, following this team and want to see them at least get back to the playoffs and maybe soon after championship contention. I mean, should be everybody's goal. Fans, the team, everybody should have those same lofty expectations, especially when you're accustomed to winning championships and being like, looked at as like the class of the NFL and the elite. I mean, you have to like just do everything in your power just to do it right. But they didn't interview anybody for the head coach vacancy. They didn't really give the same sort of attention and attentiveness to the whole GM role. It was just one big laughing sort of scam. It was all one in-house job, and we just want worthy people leading this franchise, making the calls on like for the GM, for the sake of the franchise moving forward, draft, free agency, all that jazz. We want to actually have legitimate assistants that deserve to be in position, coaching the respected positions, with these players. But they don't even have that. And why is that? Because apparently the Crafts don't really feel like these guys deserve to be paid and compensated accordingly. Well, guess what? Your proof, I mean, your logic and your rhyme or reason has clearly blown up in their face. You don't want to pay up for coaching, then guess what? You're going to get the bottom of the barrel, which leads to results like this. So yes, Gerard Mayo, throw him on the list.
Wow, you heard it here first. Gerard Mayo on the hot seat. Um, two bright.
You disagree? You disagree?
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I didn't think of him being there. I was thinking maybe in my head give him a pass with year one, but yeah, he made some good points about Gerard Mayo, so I would not be surprised at all. Two bright spots though on your Patriots, Drake May and that Gonzalez kid, right? Two bright spots on
Yeah,
that
man.
team.
I seen you talking about your DB there, the rookie DB doing his thing. I see you. I see you. And yeah,
Quintana Bay Mitchell
he's been very hyped, and
shut down.
He's delivered the goods, and yeah, he's definitely come through. That certainly would have been Christian Gonzalez by early accounts a year ago, but he only lasted about 3.5, 4 games, and then he was lost for the season, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, here we are in year 2, and it's just like what seemed to be trending in his rookie year is certainly playing out right before our eyes every single week, from star like wide receivers to the opposition quarterback, most likely star quarterback. I mean, he is just getting showered with praises, a lot of love, and just utmost sort of credit for the job that he's doing on his opposing receiver, whether he's following him, or just
making a play,
just staying in the scheme and just shutting down whoever he's covering. But he's proven to be very well diverse. I mean, sometimes you have these cornerbacks that like to play one side or the other. He can certainly do that, formation based, or certainly if they prefer him go the shadow route. He's proven to be able to do that. Whether it's outside, get bumped inside. I mean, this guy, he's right there with your guy there down in Philly, and certainly they seem to have struck gold with him a year ago. There's not too many bright spots like you alluded to, just the two. Doesn't get too much fewer than that, right? But those are two huge positions to be well on your way to hitting. So it seems like certainly they got without question their franchise quarterback finally since post Brady moving forward. I'd have to say that would be the obvious preferred of the two. But then there's the shutdown corner, and I feel like as much of a air raid sort of league this has turned into, a lot of offense, a lot of airing it out, star quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, throwing your quarterback there, Jalen Hurts, Burrow. I mean, the list goes on and on. You got some pretty big time stud quarterbacks that are airing it out, finding their receivers, making big plays. And when you have guys like your guy down in Philly, us, with New England with Christian Gonzalez, I mean, that kind of takes care of itself. If you can have that shutdown guy that is gonna allow maybe a couple of catches for like minimum yards, statistics, stuff like that. I mean, then you know what? Everyone else, figure it out elsewhere. Hey, I got this side of the field. I got, let's say the likes of Tyreek Hill. I'll erase him out. But if you have those two positions, which is on the optimism side of a Pats fan, you should feel good about. So now you seem to have the quarterback. You seem to have the star cornerback, shutdown caliber. You got everything else you got to figure out. Go out, find out wide receiver, true number one wide receiver, because certainly we have anything but. We have, like, if anything, the probably in a runaway, the league's worst wide receiving core. Like, that's no exaggeration, absolute fact. You need to find some legitimate talent to protect and keep May upright. And then, of course, fill in the blanks, get a linebacker, shore up the remaining secondary. And you know what? Like I said, let's not rule out a clean sweep of the front office, the coach if need be. I don't know. But everything else needs to be figured out ASAP.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting off season ahead in the NFL for months to come. So Steelers versus Eagles, big game, battle for Pennsylvania last Sunday in the Lincoln Financial, home of the Eagles. Coach Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, remarkable to say the least. A no nonsense guy, right? We all know Coach Mike T. I was Pittsburgh's lowest offensive output since September 2010 when Charlie Batch and Dennis Dixon combined to play quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what a beatdown from my Eagles. The Steelers just had 2 drives in the second half against the Eagles. They're the first team since 2009 to only have 2 drives in the second half, per ESPN stats. Eagles defense has not gotten anywhere near the credit it deserves so far this year. First in the NFL in yards per game, second in the NFL in points per game. I mean, they held the Steelers to 2 total yards in the first quarter. I mean, they're unbelievable. JJ Watt even came out and said Eagles have been around since 1933 and they have never been on a longer winning streak that they're in right now. Mitch Golich said that also too. So I mean, what a beatdown, Eagles versus Steelers. How surprised were you by this, Galen, second half? I mean, are you believing in my Eagles now? Are you a believer?
Well, I mean, I've been impressed by the Eagles for a little bit now. It's funny because they're playing at just an exceptional high level, and deservingly so. It's an extremely talented team. But the funny thing is like, you go back and you look at the domination that they've been doing now for quite a bit. I mean, they certainly didn't come out the gates firing on all cylinders to open up the year. It took them a little bit to get going, but now they are here. They're looking very studlicious on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, getting the job done on a week-to-week basis. Crazy streak. I mean, it. In all honesty, it seems like they're shaping up to arguably be the team to beat. On either side. AFC or NFC. Gotta like their chances. I feel like they've been trending this way now for a couple seasons, but like we alluded to one of the last times, if not the last time we were on, I mean, man, what an addition Barkley has been for Philly. And I mean, at this juncture, it wouldn't surprise me in the least bit if maybe he was the secret key ingredient missing for putting them over the top when all said and done. I mean, because they have everything: the quarterback, receivers, high flying, very skilled D, and now they got the running back. I mean, what do you plan for? Because you key on him, they can hit you in the passing game. They focus early and often with the passing game, making too much noise there. They go back to Barkley, and it's too bad that they lost Goddard again, because when healthy, which has been a big question mark
hopefully he's back in time for the playoffs. Hopefully
this season. But you got to pay attention to him, because he's certainly from a skill standpoint considered to be one of the better tight ends. Maybe not elite, but a very, very damn good tight end in this league. But I feel like with you, they put him on IR just with enough time to go towards the end of the season. Doesn't look like it's season ending at all. And if that's the case, though, they're going to get a pretty big weapon in him back just in time for the playoffs.
I mean, these guys are like 2-2, right? Now they're 12-2. I mean, they can't look ahead, right? Like, they can't look to New Orleans yet. We got a long ways to get there first. We still got 3 more games in the regular season, then playoffs, try to get healthy. But yeah, I mean, this team is one of the I compare them to the 2017 Super Bowl team, but they seem like they're a little tad bit better. The defense and offense, both sides of the football as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anybody beating them but themselves at this point. I mean, we had a little spat there, right? Last week we had a little spat there, right? We had a little Jalen Hurts, and then it was AJ Brown came out and said something what needs to be changed or worked on. He said passing, and then Devontae Smith a little unhappy. Both guys scored last week versus the Steelers, so it's all well in Philadelphia. You know what Jalen Hurts came out and said, right? So this is what y'all wanted to see, huh? I mean, we didn't come up with this. The fans didn't come up with this. The media didn't come up with this stuff. The players came up with this stuff, right? So him saying that, you got to fix it. You got to fix the locker room and talk to your boys in that locker room, not us. We didn't create this story. You guys created the story. The players created the story.
Right. I mean, but again, put yourself in his shoes. Assume you're one of the receivers, just one of the guys flat out in the room. I mean, we see this all the time, from star caliber athletes, teams themselves. I mean, whether it's warranted or not, they're always quick to, flip it on not the local fans, but, the fans, across the league, that might just, kind of take a shot at them or whatever, or just, be quick to take a walk down memory lane, like, oh, you said this or whatever. So yeah, it's just something that it's an easy out, or, in case of the media, a lot of times the media, sometimes they can't get out of hand a little bit, but, not always are they pointing fingers. They're just bringing up like quotes and sound bites that they're getting from the locker room. And in this case, it came from the locker room. But again, if you're him, if you're anyone in that locker room, whether you know that it came from inside or not, I mean, the last thing you ever want to do from a chemistry and camaraderie standpoint, especially when things are going as well as they have been for them now for like about 2.5 straight months, right? I mean, you're not going to put it back on your fellow teammates. Certainly star caliber, talent like an AJ Brown, or like you said, Devontae Smith or whatever. No, he's going to end up like, pointing the fingers, back on whatever sort of like, fan slash fans, sour fans, or whatever that wants to try and like stir the pot and this and that, or maybe even again that much easier because they have media access virtually on a daily basis. So it's always that easy and just most common to just deflect and just point the finger at them like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, we're fine. Like, why are you trying to make up something that isn't there? No, there is something there. Like you said, it came out of your locker room, and then it's even more telling because you're about as big of an Eagles fan that I've come across and come to know and respect. So the fact that where it came from, obviously they all know where it came from, but it's everybody else's fault, not inside where it should be focused on.
It's funny. You know what? He should have said, "Are you not entertained?" He should have said something like that.
Right.
Not just, "That's what you wanted to see, huh?" I get it. But I'd rather him say something like some out of Gladiator, something slicker. And by the way, you saw them find the NFL find him for wearing those shoes, those sneakers. They weren't Eagle colors. They fined them. I think it was 5,000. They came down with a fine today. Really NFL? Really NFL? Really?
I must have missed it.
Yeah.
Don't rule out too. I mean, they've been going so good for so long, and everything is literally going their way. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we also see that whole like sometimes they just make things up in their head to give them that edge to keep it going. There's probably that.
Michael Jordan did that every single time. He always find something.
There's probably a little bit of that element to his whole like spouting off or whatever and saying, "Oh, is that what you wanted to say?" Like, I wouldn't rule that out.
How about the Titans here? The Titans are weird organization. So they let the Chiefs get DeAndre Hopkins, Ravens got Derrick Henry, Eagles got AJ Brown. I mean, this is like a remember the Titans, right? I mean, these guys. I mean, what are you guys doing in Tennessee?
Literally.
I mean, what are you guys doing here? Am I missing something here? How do you give away these players? You guys all had these players at one point. What are you guys doing in Tennessee? What are you doing in Tennessee?
A whole lot of mixing and matching. This one here's in, this one here's out. Like, it doesn't really seem to be much of a direction now, does it? And now here we are going into the weekend, just benching Levis. Like, I have no idea what they're doing, what their motive is. But it definitely seems like they're a bit lost in their own sauce from afar.
Unbelievable. Jalen Hurts was special, man. He was really special. A broken finger, non-throwing hand, thank goodness. 25 of 32, 78% completion, 290 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, the brotherly shove. 125.6 passer rating, 336 total yards, 3 touchdowns. Are you a fan of the brotherly shove, Galen? You hate that play, or you don't mind it at all?
I mean, it's starting to wear on me, in all honesty. I really actually kind of used to look forward to it and see like all the like legit many moving parts in that play, from Jason Kelce to obviously Hurts himself, the running back making reassurance, like legit, like giving him that extra boost if he's not able to have that momentum for himself. I mean, it was such a well orchestrated team sort of play. But now I feel like, okay, just like anything else, like the other thing that someone brought up too, and they like legit had a segment on this that I wasn't even thinking of until they said it, but it actually makes perfect sense. It's almost like the gritty. You know, that was like the in thing. Everybody was doing it. We had
Yeah.
grandmas in the street doing it, little kids, teeny boppers, like everybody and their mother, right? Was all about the gritty, like, I get it. You know what I mean? But now it's just the brotherly shove. It's just like we all know what's coming. It's so cool because you got that one team that's like figured it out and then some, mastered it, you know. But now it's just like, all right, like we know what's coming. You guys like execute literally 99.9%. Yes, I can't give you 100% anymore because it was like a couple weeks ago when it got like shoved right down their throat. And
Yeah,
it's
you
kind
got
of
stuff.
funny
I think
because
Cincy stopped us. I think Cincy stopped
yeah.
us at the goal line. Yeah.
So I'm like, aha, good for you. It's like my Patriots winning like every other year, you know. People were sick of it, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, it's just like we see it with the gritty. Now we're starting to actually see it too with the brotherly shove. It's cool. It definitely was that like play for a long time, but you know, okay. It's like the NBA. No creativity involved. They're just gonna stuff it in your face, like it or not. Try and stop it. You know, a tenth point of the time, you're not gonna be able to. And we saw that 10th happen about a couple weeks ago, and I fully expect for them to go on a
Yeah.
nearly perfect run again with more play calls of the brotherly shove. So yeah, I would like to see it just either put in the air, give it to a very worthy and special back like, you know, Barkley. I would rather just them kind of challenge themselves at this point, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts can become the fifth quarterback since 1950 with at least 3 career winning streaks of 10 or more games. Hurts joins NFL legends John Elway, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. There was 10 minutes and 29 seconds left in the game, Galen, and the Eagles had the ball at the 3-yard line, right? And the Steelers never got the ball back.
Amazing.
It's just like video game stuff, right? I mean, Vic Fangio's defense held the Steelers to 163 total yards. Diana Rossini says, walking out of the Eagles locker room tonight, and let me say, this team has that 27 feeling, that magic with some 2022 in it. Diana Rossini quoted saying about that game walking out of the locker room. I mean, Galen, I mean, you know, fourth quarter, 10:29 left. Eagles had the ball at their own 3-yard line, and the Steelers never got the ball back. Is this alarming for Pittsburgh? Do they have a lot of issues they need to fix? Because this is a good caliber team, right? 10 wins, right? So this is a good caliber team. Where do Pittsburgh go from here?
And especially Pittsburgh, like you were just mentioning, because anytime I feel like, you know, you even think, let alone watch a Steelers game,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody and their mother knows they're deeply, you know, uh deeply rooted, like, you know, when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. Like, yeah, like, you know, they have great coaching. They have a great coach in Tomlin. um Really, like, I hate to say it, but like they're one of, I think, of a few model franchises going in today's NFL. Um
They always seem to do
Obviously,
it right. The only 3 head coaches in their franchise, right?
right, exactly.
Remarkable, remarkable.
And when, for as much as, you know, we've come to expect and really know them on the defensive side, they're every bit, you know, that consistent and that effective with their ground game. So even though they've through a little bit of a transition and up and down, going through, you know, some quarterbacks the last couple of years, when you think of Pittsburgh and where, you know, legitimately so, um, I know I think of two primary parts of that team that's very consistent, very steady, and highly effective, no matter how talented and good that opposition is, or, you know, in the case of my, you know, Patriots, how much of a like cupcake they happen to face. You know, they're gonna play, you know, some really good to high end defense, sometimes even like, you know, what appears to be elite defense, and they're gonna play hard nosed football. You know, they're gonna, line up and punch you in the mouth. They're gonna run it down your throat. Again, especially in those years where they haven't had the most consistent and most steady high end, quarterback play. Obviously we
Yeah.
saw it there with their missed quarterback there. What was his face?
Who,
Um,
the quarterback for the Eagles?
no, for the
Oh,
Steelers. That they
oh,
just
oh, Justin Fields. Justin Fields. Justin Fields.
no, not Fields. The guy just from last year
Oh,
that didn't.
he's on the Eagles now, right?
Yeah,
He
but
got
I was
traded.
Pickens, right?
Pickens, yes.
Yeah,
Pickens,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Kenny
yeah,
Pickett. Kenny Pickett. Yeah, yeah.
they were hoping that he was going to be the guy, and obviously he flamed out
Yeah.
shortly
Kenny Pickett. Kenny
thereafter.
Pickett. Kenny Pickett. Right. Kenny Pickett.
Pickett. That's
Kenny
yeah.
Pickett.
So
Pickens.
Pickens
Pickens is
is
the
the wide
wide
receiver.
receiver. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Kenny
but
Pickett.
even when you have guys like Kenny Pickett, right, you still are winning, not only winning football games, but you have clearly one of the better football teams in the league, because
Yeah.
I feel like they're always in the range of at least 9, if not 10, 11 victories. They did that with Kenny Pickett. How is beyond me. So that goes to show you just how great, just how much of a genius, and you talk, I mean, Bill Belichick, right? For example, I'm not saying this just because obviously, Patriots are my team, but he's going to go down as no doubt probably the greatest coach of all time, and very deservingly so. But I'll tell you one thing, man. Mike Tomlin, he's a genius. He really is. And if it's not someone like Bill Belichick, he can, head coach my football team any day. I
Yeah.
will gladly, stand in the paint, go to war
Run
for
through a
that
brick
guy.
wall for that guy.
Yeah, that guy is just what he's able to do with some of the roster and the talent that he's had to just literally coach up and scheme up, to continue along their franchise modeling sort of self as a team, as an organization. Like, it's just nothing short of remarkable. And I
Remarkable. Yeah.
feel like if it's just about any other coach, whether they're just as good or not as good or not, I find it hard to believe that you're gonna have the same consistency with too many other coaches, not named Mike Tomlin. So I mean, talk about the perfect pairing between coach and franchise, and guys, again, going to war for him, and really rallying around him. But like, yeah, last week was, definitely more the exception, not the rule. I was kind of really shocked, getting back to your initial mention of how that game played out. But they're always going to be in it. They're always going to show up and be, very, very competitive, and almost be in the game, and always a threat to steal it out if they don't just flat out just end up controlling things from start to finish, which they a lot of times are able to do.
Just remarkable what he's able to do in Pittsburgh. What Pittsburgh has done as an organization too. Very, very remarkable. During the bye week, Eagles veteran Brandon Graham and Big Dom went to Jalen Hurts' home and told Jalen he needed to connect with the team more. Philly has been undefeated since this has happened, and Hurts has gone out of his way to meet with his teammates. That's interesting, right, Galen? I mean, that's pretty interesting. He actually listened, and they've been undefeated since.
Well, I mean, does it surprise you? I mean, he definitely doesn't strike me by the prototypical diva, especially at the quarterback position. Philly.
You
I
know,
know
when you get
Philly.
when you get paid, you act funny, right? Some guys get paid, they start acting funny, right?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, this was a little bit of a surprise to me. But at the same time, the more and more you think about it, is it really? Because, like I said, he's definitely not the prototypical diva that we see a lot of times end up emerging and being basically like, forced down our throat. We see at the quarterback position from time to time, probably still a little bit too often. We certainly see it at the wide receiver position around the league. But Jalen Hurts, when I see this, is he really like one of those guys? You know, just another
I wouldn't
diva.
think. I wouldn't. I
So
would hope not. I would hope not.
exactly, he's not one of these divas and someone that you really have to like kind of walk on eggshells and really like massage the ego of at the quarterback position. He's certainly not like at a lot of times how these wide receivers through and through around the league conduct themselves. If and when any of this, let's just say, is true, if anything, I'm looking at just the type of guy he seems to come across, you know, in the public setting, you know, on game day, maybe on the sidelines or whatever, maybe throughout the week, you know, those local, you know, media and fans and stuff like that, seeing it play out on a day-to-day basis. But he just seems to be along the lines of what? A constant professional. And even if that consists of kind of doing his own thing, well, what's so wrong with that? You know, I think if anything, maybe that's just a little too much of his personality, maybe at the end of the day, reigning through. And maybe that's what the whole question, like, hey, can we, you know, sit down and have a brotherly conversation? Get it?
See, he comes out brotherly shove, brotherly conversation. Yeah,
Right,
it is
exactly.
Philly. It is Philly.
But I just feel like, is it really who he's now turning into, or is this really the guy that he's arguably been like virtually like his whole career? And I feel like I think it's the latter, you know. I mean, excuse me if he's a little bit on the reserve side, maybe, you know, in this case, sometimes a bit too extreme. And he's just kind of to himself. If anything, I think if it is that, and I think there could be, you know, definitely some of that, you know, that is kind of like being reported on, that obviously was, you know, asked to, you know, can we talk about this for a second? I think if anything, it's kind of more along the lines of who he's always been, and more importantly, who he's okay with being, like very comfortable in his own skin. But obviously by this sit down, maybe they find it to be a little bit too comfortable in your own skin. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, not to say, well, oh yeah, me and Jalen Hurts are kind of like one and the same or very relatable, because we're not. Like, he's Jalen Hurts and I'm here on a podcast with you. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I love, you know, what we do. Wouldn't trade it for anything. But I feel like where I'm going with this is that sometimes we get a little too comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a little bit of a reserve side, especially, you know, hence my move, right, to Arizona. Like, I still don't really know anyone. I go out there, you know, I'm, you know, active in the gym and stuff like that. You know, I try and get out, but even if I do see people or whatever, like, I mean, unless it's blatantly asked, like, oh, where you from or whatever, then yeah, like we'll talk about it. But I'm not going out of my way to be like, oh, like, hey, so what is it that you do? You know, where do you like to go hang out? Like, I don't know. Sometimes people are just okay with who they are, not really being at all interested, you know, really in terms of really forcing themselves, you know, on someone else. They just want to let it play out like organically and naturally. And when I look and I listen to like these interviews and stuff like that, when I watch his body language and stuff on the field play out, what appears to be some good leadership, you know, on the sidelines, in game. I just feel like, you know, that's just who he is. That's who he's always been, and that's who I fully expect for him to be. Whether he's doing the damn thing now, got that, you know, pretty big contract or whatever, I didn't really see, you know, much problem with them kind of sitting him down. But I think it was more the latter than the former. He's not a diva, and I don't fully expect for him to go diva-esque on us.
Hope not. I hope you're right, Galen. I hope you're right. So
I
front.
mean, do you question it? Do you question it?
Um, no, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's something there, but I, you know, mostly good, more than bad, I would think. He's my quarterback, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what
gotta
I'm
kind of
thinking.
support him. Yeah. There's a little scuffle there this with the Steelers, and Quinyon Mitchell, my boy, got involved there, and Slay got involved, and Quinyon came over to help. So that didn't go unnoticed by the coaches. Um, Lane Johnson said, he had bleeping nightmares going 1-on-1 against superstar pass rusher TJ Watt. That was a long day on the island with TJ Watt. I may have a couple of shots tonight. So yeah, hopefully TJ Watt's okay, right? You think he went down with an injury, minor injury? It seemed like he was rolling down there. Hopefully he's okay going forward. But
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, he's definitely still one of those very, very special and generational type talents
yeah,
on the defensive side. Certainly has some crazy, crazy, insane genes between him and his brother JJ.
yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah, anytime those guys are on the field, obviously now TJ, not JJ,
yeah,
with JJ now retired, but yeah, it's just a better watch. It's a lot that much more interesting because I feel like when JJ was on still playing to now TJ, these guys just they always seem to have their hands in the cookie jar, and a lot of times literally end up like picking up their teams, carrying them to the finish line. So hopefully it's not going to be too detrimental.
yeah. I mean, those two guys, two Hall of Famers, potential Hall of Famers, TJ Watt and Lane Johnson going against each other. That was something special. Shout out to Quinion Mitchell too, one of my favorite players in the NFL and the Eagles. He's the favorite to be the 2024 Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, this guy is a lockdown corner, Galen. Targeted 3 times, 2 total catches allowed, 25 total yards, 0 touchdowns, 10 straight game allowing 30 yards or under. I mean, he's in a really good run. I mean, week 1 reception, 6 yards. Week 2, Drake London, 1 reception, 5 yards. Week 3, Chris Olave, 2 receptions, 23 yards. Week 4, Mike Evans, 2 receptions, 19 yards. Week 6, Amari Cooper, 1 reception, 10 yards. Malik Neighbors, week 7, 1 reception, 9 yards. Week 8, Jamar Chase, 2 receptions, 19 yards. Week 9, Jaguars, 1 reception, 11 yards. Week 10, CeeDee Lamb, 2 receptions, 14 yards. Week 11, Terry McLaurin, no receptions, no yards. Week 12, Pupa Nakua and Cooper Kupp, 3 receptions, 26 yards. Week 13, Zay Flowers and the Ravens, 2 receptions, 4 yards. Week 14, the Panthers, 3 receptions, no yards. And week 15, 2 receptions, 25 yards. I
Now
mean,
my question to you is he
Quintanamo Bay Mitchell. This is what this
because
guy is.
you can definitely be the man to ask this and would know, being the Eagles enthusiast that you are, but is he like basically like a full-time shadow of the other team's,
Best receiver, best receiver.
undeniable, number one wide receiver, or is he just play
Yeah,
one side of the formation, like, because I'm seeing these same numbers as well, like in our rundown and stuff, and it
yeah,
appears to be the number one corner virtually all game long.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Stunning. Stunning.
What do you make about Sirianni this year? I mean, he says, you want us to run it, we can run it. You want us to pass it. How about that passing game? Sirianni has done a remarkable job leading this team this season. He wins. And Nick Sirianni, since he shaved his head after that skirmish with those fans there, I mean, 10 wins in a row, Galen. I mean, I don't know. Something in
Yeah.
Philly, lockdown
Talk,
corner, good head
talk,
coach all of a sudden.
talking about a guy that probably not too long ago, like obviously before this insane run that they've clearly gone on, seemed to be inching closer and closer, and certainly feeling his own seat there for a little while get a bit warm, to say the least. You feel like that seems to be clearly behind him, and he's
Yeah,
probably right back firmly so, and rightfully so, in the good gracious of ownership and the guys that probably were starting to give him a bit of a long look. I would have
yeah,
to say he's going to be sitting okay, and he's clearly saved what could have been
saved his
um,
bacon for sure.
a disappointment, because it wasn't too long ago, like I said,
Hot seat.
pre streak. very, very impressive streak here of 10 straight games, that he would have certainly been on that potential Black Monday list.
Yeah, seriously. Zach Vaughn, I mean, this guy is remarkable. Highest graded linebacker since week 4, Zach Vaughn, 91.5. N'Kobe Dean, 85.4. Real quick, Galen, but this streak thing, before we talk about MVPs, this streak thing, you rather, if you're an Eagle fan, you rather us lose maybe a game or two heading into the playoffs, because you can get all these streaks, nothing matters. You can just go into the playoffs and lose the first game, the season's over, and it's a failure. Right. So
Right.
you rather us having this hot streak going into the playoffs, or maybe lose a game or potentially two and then rest a little bit and then go into the playoffs fresh, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not against taking a loss or two and getting over and done with, resetting, because that's going to happen
Yeah.
by just naturally. Anytime you're just steamrolling, not just rolling, but steamrolling right along with virtually very little to no competition, week in and week out. Sometimes it's good to kind of be knocked off that throne and just bump right back down to reality, and just being a lot closer, if not on an equal playing field, um, from your opposition, as opposed to, we've seen it almost virtually every year, time and time again, just one and done. Not necessarily with the Eagles, but just around the league.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen with my Patriots when they were going sky high. I mean, for example, the undefeated season. I
18,
mean,
right? Yeah.
wow, what a time to lose, right? Like, of
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Of
times.
all the times you
So,
lose, the biggest game of the
so
year.
I mean, if the Eagles don't happen to lose now, between now and the next 3 weeks, I mean, they're not that far off from the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots were doing it all season. This has been the last 10 weeks consecutively, but still, that's still like kind of in its way, in a way, like uncharted territory, because like I said, it was a bit of a bumpy, go to open the season. They weren't nearly this consistent, this dominant, and just looking, just to be firing on all cylinders, and just clicking to this extent. I mean, it certainly took them a little bit to get to this point, but now that they're here, and let's say they do run the table and they get into the playoffs, now you're kind of like, inching that much closer to, like you said, 17, 18 straight weeks that we saw from the Patriots,
Right.
before finally, like, just blowing it in the Super Bowl game, the biggest game, of all of them. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, talk about timing. Yeah, sometimes this league, greatness, consistency. Sometimes it's better to catch that L, where you still have time to recover, reset, and just get refocused. But looking at the final couple of weeks here, a few weeks, I mean, really, the only game that I can see them maybe slipping up, or maybe coming up a little short, and just being knocked off that insane perch of theirs that they've been sitting on for as long as they have, is what, this upcoming week to the Commanders,
Commanders. Yeah.
division game on the road. Yeah, maybe they may not have as many skilled guys as the Eagles, but I feel like they have enough. We talked about this pre-show. Gotta like the rookie there, the hot shot rookie, Jaden Daniels. Got a really good running back, and Brian Robinson. McLaurin now is kind of like really stepping up and really starting to apply his dominance at the wide receiver position. And that defense, not bad, not great, not terrible. I mean, they got
They got some pieces.
some they got some pieces. They got a little bit of fight in them, for the most part. And hey, what do you say this time of year? Any given Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that could clearly, like, legit fit the mold in this particular matchup. But assuming they continue to keep the streak alive and they continue to find a way and just do Eagles thing, I mean, to close out the season, they're home to the Cowboys. Don't see them slipping up there, and they're back home against the
The
Giants,
Giants. Yeah.
the lowly Giants. So yeah, it's kind of like this week it's looking like of the three, and if not, oh, that's going to be interesting to watch. It really is because I would rather see them slip up just from a humble standpoint, just so they don't get too high, for their bridges and stuff like that. Sometimes a loss can do good as opposed to the whole, you know,
Yeah, nitty gritty.
so yeah, sometimes a loss can be a good thing as opposed to
Right.
like, oh, why'd you lose this and that, and really kind of being like, just bent out of shape. Like I
Yeah.
feel like a loss after this long, it's just yeah, just get it out the way,
Quick reset, get it out the way. I mean,
right?
it's crazy because the Chiefs are 13-1, the Eagles are 12-2, Lions are 12-2, Vikings are 12-2. I mean, if the
Right.
Eagles have to go on the road, I mean, you have to go to the Lions and the Vikings. I don't mind playing in a dome compared to being out. I love to be outside in Philly, obviously in Philadelphia, but I mean, our chances are just as good playing in a dome versus the Vikings or Lions. The Lions are banged up right now, Galen. What team really scares you right now? Lions, Vikings, Packers, maybe sneaky good.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably correct. Sneaky good, but let's face it, I mean, of those teams, I mean, you would like to
And the
think,
Rams too. You can't the Rams. You got to put the Rams in
yeah,
there too.
yeah, you probably would think it would be the Lions, but I'm with you. It seems like they've really got like a severe bug of the injury bug, and it seems like um it's gonna help to level the playing field with whoever they happen to come across in the playoffs and stuff. But yeah, I think you just alluded to it. I wasn't necessarily thinking the Rams, but the Rams right now, and in recent weeks, I mean, they've been coming on pretty strong. They certainly have the pieces, especially on the offensive side. They do have some, really, really good playmakers along the defensive line to really be a force and wreak havoc with these opposing quarterbacks and stuff like that, and to help kind of like, you know, just have everything else just kind of in place as a defensive unit. I feel like when you have that skill, when you have that constant pressure up front, I feel like it just makes the whole unit better,
Yeah.
So are they going to go into the playoffs potentially as the most prolific and most talented defense? No. I would certainly take, the likes of Philly's defense when healthy, probably Detroit's defense over the Rams. But I feel like if you can get that constant, just nonstop weekend of havoc, which they're able to do with their front seven, then that's only going to help the rest of the unit, there, and just in their ability to make plays and kind of like keep the passing game at bay, and they're gonna give themselves a chance to be in these games for it. So you can't rule out the Rams, and certainly we know the weapons between quarterback, obviously the running back room led by Kyron Williams, and certainly two huge and dynamic talents at wide receiver with Cooper Cup and
Nakua.
Puka Nakua.
Puka
So,
Nakua, yeah.
I mean, you definitely can't sleep on the Rams for
You got
sure.
a good running
I mean,
game too, right? Williams is a pretty good running back.
I would probably give, and deservingly so, the edge to the Eagles. But I would have to say they would be probably my dark horse if I were to anoint one of all the teams we discussed.
Sneaky good, those Rams and Packers. So Josh Allen has gone off, Galen. 100 since his 3 games since he got engaged, 123.9 passer rating, 852 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 168 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, total 13 touchdowns. How good are the Buffalo Bills, Galen? What's the ceiling for the Buffalo Bills this season? Is this the year of Josh Allen?
I mean, I feel like we've kind of
I'm not drinking the
expected
Kool-Aid.
it.
I'm not drinking
Yeah,
the
I
Kool-Aid.
mean, we keep on like waiting for it to be his year, their year. I feel like some of us fans and certainly the media are quick to be like, oh, this is their year, they're gonna do it. Um, and I'm with you. I mean, they are maybe as high flying and as explosive and elite week in and week out as arguably no other team right now, including your Eagles.
Correct.
And yes, I am saying that because they've looked that dynamic and just flat out, just downright that unstoppable, right? But like you said just about a minute ago, we've seen this play out before. Like I'm kind of over. I'm done with just like, oh, watch out for those Bills. This is gonna be their year. They're gonna, prove everybody wrong, all the naysayers. But well, guess what? They still have it. And until they do, we certainly reserve the right to continue to, pass judgment, for obvious reasons, and just take the ultimate approach. Well, you got to finish the job. You have to keep on going. You have to continue to put your foot down on the gas, step on the opposing throats to really continue to make that statement and kind of set that precedent. No, like the job isn't finished until it's finished. Because I feel like the moment they start to ease up off the gas pedal and kind of like play down to their competition, that will be once again when they end up slipping up. So for them, if that's maybe the deciding factor, put the pedal to the metal until there is nothing more in front of us, then maybe the quarterback talent that Josh Allen once again has displayed this year is undeniable. It is very special to watch, and he's about as talented as you're gonna find around the whole league, in the whole NFL. I wasn't really all that sold on their receiving room coming in. Well, guess what? I was proven wrong. I mean, I still don't know really how they're doing it, but once again, that probably has a lot more to do with Allen as opposed to the actual receivers that are on the receiving end of his passes. You gotta love the running game. I love James Cook and the rookie there. What's his face?
Shakir is pretty good.
No, the running back, his backup to James Cook. He's looked very well. The handcuff basically. Obviously, that defense is really very talented and consistent. I mean, they seem to have it all. They seem to have all the pieces, check off all the boxes, but until they're able to finish up the job and get that one, yeah, the
There's
every
nothing to really talk about.
very deservingly so, and rightfully need to be questioned. Just perceive them like, oh, we've seen the same old Bills play out and finish in disappointing fashion. I mean, yeah, you just have to stay focused and just find some way somehow to prove all of us wrong, because I like to think that this will be the year, but until they go out and do it and actually prove all of us wrong, me, you, and a lot of others, then yeah, why can't they slip up? You know what I mean? And
Nothing really to
and, and
talk about.
and and with their luck, it would probably come to the uninspiring and actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, but lackluster, very unexciting, ho hum Kansas City Chiefs. It would be like the Chiefs to find some way, somehow, have their luck continue right into the playoffs, AFC Championship, and get the better of Josh Allen and company. So
Yeah.
if that happens, you heard it here. 1220 edition.
12-20. I like that. Current MVPs: Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson. I think Allen probably runs away with this thing, right? It's going to be close between Allen and Saquon, but I think the notch goes to Josh Allen right now.
Yeah, I would like to see Joe Burrow, but as we've seen play out year over year over year when it comes to these type of awards, I don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball, so often whether it's you know really deserving or not, it almost always goes to, those teams that is the best team or certainly in contention, a playoff team. Had Cincinnati had a much different season, I feel like, you or I, and I'm sure a lot of others had expected to, when the season began. I wouldn't rule out Joe Burrow potentially being the front runner. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but he leads the league in both yards thrown on the year and touchdowns, which
I did
is
see that. Yeah.
tremendous,
Yeah.
But Josh Allen, once again, playing just otherworldly, out of his mind, week in and week out. Heck of a quarterback talent, arguably as good as it gets. His team is well on their way to, you would think, making some noise. Whether or not it finishes with a Super Bowl victory or not, we'll see. But obviously, the MVP is a regular season, and the playoffs don't factor in there. Lamar Jackson once again is legitimately and deserving in the conversation, but to me, it's Josh Allen, like you were saying, to lose because
Yeah.
they've been the more dominant team from start to finish, end to end. And as much as I would love for the course to change and it go to another position, whether it's like a wide receiver, in this case, Barkley, the running back. He's certainly very deservingly should be in the mix. I mean, I'd like to think that he should certainly get some votes, but will it be enough? Unfortunately, to finally like switch up the course and now kind of derail the quarterback year after year after year.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I just still don't see the trend being broken. So, yeah, another quarterback, and it should be Josh Allen and then everyone else.
A couple news, a few things out of Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes was seen getting carted out the locker room. Mahomes did not play at the end of the game due to injury. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes' ankle is not broken. He has some form of high ankle sprain. Mahomes is not expected to miss any games. Andy Reid says that Mahomes did not want to leave the game when that occurred. A major sigh of
That
relief for the Kansas City
that's a
Chiefs.
newsflash.
Yeah, he never wants to come out of games, never does. And see, the Chiefs, by the way, have released former first round running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire also too. Any cause for concern, Galen, out of Kansas
He,
City? Would you sit Mahomes and then
he hasn't
probably
been
put
that since his rookie year.
yeah, little parting shots, Galen? Easy, Christmas right around the corner, Galen. No shots here. We're not throwing out any shots. What do you
Oops.
think? What do you think Kansas City should do? Andy Reid should do? Sit Mahomes, get some rest. You 13-1, right? Don't you have any confidence in my boy? Used to be my boy, Carson. Walk it to him, Wentz. Any confidence in Carson Wentz? You're 13-1. What could you lose, right? I mean, you're the Chiefs.
Maybe because obviously he's about as veteran as they're gonna come at the backup position
Right.
at this point in his career. So, yeah, I mean, when you have a guy like him coming off the bench, whether it's emergency, like let's just say Patrick Mahomes wasn't able to give it a go, or be put down for the game and wasn't able to come back. I mean, yeah. I mean, even though he's far from the quarterback, since his MVP, winning season there. I mean, he's not that guy anymore. He's certainly not going to be able to turn back the clock like that. But I mean, you look around the league. I mean, it almost always is quite the drop off between starter and I guess you could even say capable backup. So with him being a starter for as long as he was in this league and for a little bit there, a pretty effective one to borderline great. I mean, yeah, I mean, they're probably set up just as good as anyone else arguably in the league at that roster depth spot. But yeah, I mean, I'd have to say if you were Andy Reid and the team, I wouldn't rule it out. However, I think if Patrick Mahomes can give it a go, then you talk about Josh Allen and the Bills having to show us something to really kind of stop with all the hype and the expectation, this and that. Like, we're done wishing greatness upon you. You have to go out and now just like prove and validate that, at some point in time you guys had it in you and would get there, but you failed to do so. So until proven otherwise, we're done just laying those expectations on you. Well, at least with a 2024 rendition of the Chiefs, they are far from high flying. They're a far cry from being like, a very stable, well-oiled machine, very consistent on the offensive side. I mean, they've been average. We've said this on multiple occasions throughout the season. I mean, you keep continuing to say it, like, their luck some way somehow is just showing itself. And at this point, it's not like even at all frequent. It's now like showing up like so obviously in our faces, in front of the television screen week after week, and it's become a weekly sort of like, I think they're gonna win, some way somehow, whether they
Oh, man.
should win this or not. Well, guess what? This is just now the new modern day Chiefs. They probably shouldn't win, but this is just what they've done virtually all season. They've had a lot more luck than they've ever displayed skill, and some way, somehow, they're going to find a way. That's become the new version of the Chiefs. I hate to say it. I love Patrick Mahomes. I still think he's like wildly and insanely talented. And I don't even think it really has much really to do with him, that it does a lot of the supporting cast around him. Unfortunately, they definitely need. I talk about my Patriots, but KC is not really the team that we all remembered in recent memory, outside of, especially on the offensive end, Patrick Mahomes and Pacheco, now that he's back healthy and starting to continue to grow and show more and more of his pure dominance and effectiveness in the backfield. I mean, other than that, even the rookie receiver Worthy there, he's been underwhelming. Like, I expected a lot bigger and more consistent of a season from him, and we haven't seen it. And certainly, Kelsey's certainly dropped off. I mean, he hasn't certainly. I would say go as far as saying like going Max Kellerman, like falling off a cliff, but he's really showing he doesn't really have that dynamic sort of like yak and breakaway sort of like skill, yard after catch, that he's been known for virtually his whole career. He's more become what, like a possession receiver, and even then I feel like at times they've more than kept him in check and basically taken him out of some of these games. So now we see just how much he meant to Patrick Mahomes in that sort of combo. But I mean, he's no sure thing to be a lock for 7-8 plus catches at like 85, 90, 100 yards a game. That's what he used to do a game. Like, so you take that away, whether it's defensive scheming against him or just grandfather time starting to catch up and his skill like being very apparent and clearly declining before our eyes. But they need some playmakers. I mean, Hopkins has been okay, but it's just been that okay. Like,
Okay,
I thought,
at best,
yeah, I thought he was going to be far better and certainly a lot more consistent. Just from like, okay, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's certainly on the other side of his prime. But I just thought, he'd be excited, certainly a lot more rejuvenated, going from like virtually not a contender at all in Tennessee to an obvious contender in trade midseason to the Chiefs. But that didn't last long. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just I just don't see them getting that three-peat. And as much as I wouldn't be surprised if some way somehow Lady Luck found a way once again to probably get the better of Josh Allen, the Bills. I just I find it really, really hard with this version of the Chiefs. Their luck's got to run out at some point, whether it's the AFC
Some point.
Championship game, if they get there, providing they get there, and let's just say it continues on. I don't see them being able to really stand up and be given much of a chance of anyone that will be waiting for them coming out of the NFC. I think that the league's caught up to them for obvious reasons. They just don't have enough marquee players and skill to hang with the vast majority of the league.
Yeah. The Chiefs are that I don't know, but they're like the worst best team ever I've ever seen regular season. Like this 3 year span is just unbelievable what they've been able to do. And like
I
you
feel
said,
like the Patriots during their Super Bowl, like early Super Bowl,
yeah, things just go their way.
is
Calls, everything just goes their
yeah,
way, you
like
know?
but much early on in the dynasty, like in those first couple of Super Bowls, like there was one in particular. I feel like they got their fair share of luck and calls and all that stuff, but never ever ever have I ever remembered from any one of those Patriots teams, certainly the early Patriots teams, and virtually any other franchise being this lucky.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not luck, sprinkled throughout the regular season. We're literally seeing luck practically play out every single week. That's unheard of. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm telling you, some way, somehow, this is going to come to an end. Maybe not abruptly, but it will eventually end up catching up to them.
Time will tell. Time will tell in the next upcoming weeks. So before we get out of here, this story is just crazy to me. I mean, we're talking about this instead of what this guy was able to accomplish. I mean, a remarkable human being Travis Hunter is. I mean, he flew 50 plus staff plus teammates to the Heisman ceremony. Travis takes no money from Colorado's NIL collective. Instead, he pays for the NIL deals of 10 to 15 teammates per Deion Sanders Jr. But man, oh man, Galen, his girlfriend is toxic as heck. I mean, Leanna, she released an 8-minute video on TikTok addressing all of the allegations.
That was wild.
Like, what do you make of that?
I believe I sent that to you.
You said that to me, and I was laughing about it, and I saw
I
it.
couldn't believe it. I'm like,
I mean,
this can't be serious right now.
she's got to
She was
be.
all about it. She was all about it.
She's been told to sit up, stop being mad at an Adidas signing. He's meet and greet, and you're mad. You're folding your arms. But allegedly at OnlyFans back in 2020. I mean, Deion Sanders had to tell her to get up, stand up to be with Travis. I mean, it's a lot of red flags here, Galen. We're talking about this story instead of congratulating Travis Hunter. I mean, Genty came pretty close. He was probably my pick if Travis didn't get it. I would go in with Genty from Boise State. He had a really good season. His numbers came really close to Barry Sanders. But here we are talking about Travis Hunter's girlfriend, Leanna.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, that 8-minute sort of rant.
Why? Just why?
Call it what you will, right? I mean, I guess we can touch up on it. I mean, I would rather not give her any more of the satisfaction or recognition or whatever.
What would you tell Travis?
I feel like the only way she should be spoken was just like, oh, you see Travis Hunter's girlfriend there, like, oh, okay, cool, awesome, good for him. You know what I mean? But
why she can't be happy for her man?
She's just as much in the headlines as he legitimately and worthy in doing so is, because obviously of the season once again he's put on tape and he's had like follow up from last year. I mean, this guy seems to be the real deal, have all the makings and everything you would want in a potential elite franchise caliber talent in the next level in just a few short months. I mean, he should be the talking point. He should be the story. Like, how are you even somewhat even in the same mention, like level sort of talking point as your man? I mean, you would be nothing if it wasn't for him. And some way, somehow, she just feels the need to go, like you said, on this 8-minute rant and validate. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, newsflash, but I don't care. I don't think you care. I don't think really anyone cares.
Yeah.
So why are you feeling on jumping on TikTok, recording yourself, and telling all of us like we give a damn? Because it's not that serious. I mean, and let you guys go your separate ways. People will continue to flock and talk about and just follow your man, where you just you're gonna just fade overnight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just gonna be now just a girlfriend, just to whomever or whatever, with virtually no clout. And because they're a nobody and you're just now dropping off and you're no longer in the spotlight, you're gonna hitch your wagon, I guess, to TikTok to keep you relevant, which I guess is possible nowadays with social media and stuff like that. But if it wasn't for social media, like, yeah, you would legit fall off and you would stay off the grid. So get off my feed, get off social media, just do us all a favor. Let him just
Oh,
finish
man.
out the season strong and just get ready for the biggest moment of his life in a few short months, the NFL draft.
It's just crazy.
There's my rant, by the way.
It's just crazy. She said he would take her to parties, wait outside for her because he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. What a guy Travis Hunter is. I mean,
Well, you
she
talk about what a guy, right? Like, you know what he not only does on the football field, but also in the classroom.
he's a 4.0 student. He's
He's
a smart
4.0. Like, what more could you want? I mean,
right.
you almost never see this in
How are
the
you not happy for
college.
this guy? How are you not
Yeah,
happy for this guy?
yeah. You almost never see this coming out of college. It just he checks off literally all the boxes. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, there's nothing that he can't do, which is very alarming. He's very smart. He's uber talented. I mean, a gentleman, like you just mentioned. Like, come on, like this guy can't be talked about enough. To, if anything, in some way, somehow, she just continues to dominate the headlines, and unfortunately, like, I really feel bad, and I almost feel like apologizing for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I really
seriously.
do.
Seriously. I would just say this girl is toxic as hell. And Travis, just run. Just run. Too many red flags, man. This girl, just
Run,
run.
Travis, run.
Run,
Do
Travis,
it.
run.
Do it.
Before we get out of here, Giancarlo Stanton spoke to some youngsters at the training facility and made sure to comfort the ones that were sad about Juan Soto leaving to the Mets. He says to the youngsters, "We'll be all right." A little motivation there for the youngsters. We'll be all right. Telling the young kids, future generations, Yankee fans, we'll be all right. He didn't choose us, but we'll be okay. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Vermont wins its first NCAA soccer championship in overtime. That was cool. Little soccer talk there, Galen. And Man City continues to struggle, man. I don't know with Pep, man. They lost to Man U last week, last Sunday. What a game that was. I mean, the game was like 1-0, and then Man U scored like 2 goals in like 3 minutes. It was crazy how that game ended. But yeah, that's her show, man. Galen, that was a fast hour and a half. It seems like around
Yeah,
that, maybe a little,
148. Yeah, doesn't seem like it was that long, but
It doesn't seem
got
like
through
it. Yeah.
got through it like we always do.
Christmas, man. Christmas is what, 4
We
more
we,
days?
we, we, we have we have fun doing what we do. That's
Yeah. Where's your Christmas tree?
always
You have a Christmas tree up there right now?
Yeah, it's in what we
The
call
other part,
the living room. So
the living room.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
By the way, you had some remarkable pizza, right? You had some big pizza pie out there in Arizona. So if anyone wants to come out there to Arizona, I think you should go ahead and plug that ginormous pizza you had out there, man. That was something special,
Yeah,
man.
it was called what did I say it was? Rickety Crickets or something
Rick,
like
it's
that.
off the road, right? On a bender. Like, where am I going? But it's a big pizza shop there, right?
Ricky Cricket. something like that.
Ricky Cricket. All right. So if
Yeah,
you ever, if it,
I think it's rickety cricket. Yeah, it's but yeah, big, very interesting. I'll just leave it at this. You know where I'm going with this, but some exotic pizzas to say the least. It was an interesting experience. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, huge slices, square, depending on the type of style. Certainly ordered a pie too many. We ended up getting two when certainly one should have been the call, but we took it all home, and yeah, it was cool. I was just like, oh, I gotta send this to my boy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
glad you enjoyed
That
that.
was dope, man. So big sports weekend ahead, right, Galen? College bowl games are here to stay. Should be interesting
100%.
matchups. Notre Dame is playing tonight, right? Indiana, big game. And then a lot of more games tomorrow, and then you have NFL on Sunday. Should be a interesting weekend ahead.
Right, absolutely. Yep.
We might do a show before Christmas, right? Potentially, we'll figure things out, right? We'll figure things out.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to take the show on the road because I'm gonna be heading about 3 or so hours away
Okay.
to meet my sister and their family, pretty much at the midway point from where we are in Arizona to where they're over at in Los Angeles, California. We're going to a location called Palm Springs, so um, should be a lot of fun. Airbnb variety. Family's gonna come together, all be together. So yeah, just quick little packing up of everything if that's what you want to do. And for me, not maybe so much for you, but I guess I can take the show on the road. That'd be fun.
Sounds
Different
good.
look.
Different look.
Set up in an Airbnb. You know,
There you go. All
let's
right.
do it.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Sounds good.
Do it.
Coming to you live from New York, December 20th on this Friday evening, snowy evening, Galen in Arizona. I'm Kenford. He's Galen. Thank you so much for being here with us, Facebook Live. We appreciate you guys as always, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.